The 1992 Green Bay Packers, the dawn of a new era. Historical context. A franchise in need of revival, the Green Bay Packers. One of the NFL's most storied franchises, had fallen on hard times by the early 1990s, since their glory days under Vince Lombardi in the 1960s, which included 5 NFL championships and the first 2 Super Bowl victories. The Packers had endured a prolonged period of mediocrity. From 1968 to 1991, Green Bay made the playoffs only twice, 1972 and 1982. The latter, a strike-shortened season, and posted just 5 winning seasons. The team's struggles were compounded by inconsistent coaching, poor drafting, and a lack of organizational direction. By 1991, the Packers finished 4-12 under head coach Lindy Infante, who was fired after the season. Fan morale in Green Bay, a city that lives and breathes its football team, was at a low ebb. The NFL itself was evolving in 1992. The league was in its 73rd season, with 28 teams competing across 2 conferences, NFC and AFC. Free agency, which would reshape roster construction in 1993, was on the horizon. But in 1992, teams still relied heavily on drafts and trades to build their rosters. The Packers, based in the NFL's smallest market, faced unique challenges in attracting talent and resources, making their turnaround in 1992 all the more remarkable. The architects of change, Ron Wolf and Mike Holmgren, the seeds of the 1992 revival, were planted in November 1991 when the Packers hired Ron Wolf as general manager. Wolf, a respected executive with a track record of success under Al Davis with the Oakland Raiders, was given full authority over football operations by team president Bob Harlona, rarity in Green Bay's committee-driven structure. Wolf's vision was clear: overhaul the roster, modernize the organization, and instill a winning culture. Wolf's first major move was hiring Mike Holmgren as head coach in January 1992. Holmgren, the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, was a disciple of Bill Walsh and an expert in the West Coast offense, a system that emphasized precision passing, timing, and versatility. At 43, Holmgren brought energy, discipline, and a proven playbook to Green Bay. His hiring signaled a shift toward a more sophisticated, pass-oriented approach, a departure from the run-heavy schemes of past Packers teams. The Brett Favre trade, a franchise-altering gamble, perhaps Wolf's boldest move, came on February 10, 1992, when he traded a first-round draft pick, the 19th overall selection, to the Atlanta Falcons for quarterback Brett Favre. Favre, a second-round pick in 1991, had spent his rookie season buried on Atlanta's depth chart, throwing just 4 passes to interceptions and clashing with head coach Jerry Glanville. Wolf, who had scouted Favre extensively while with the New York Jets, saw untapped potential in the strong-armed, gunslinging quarterback from southern Mississippi. The trade was a gamble. Favre was unproven, and the Packers already had Don Majkowski, a former Pro Bowler who had led the team to a 10-6 record in 1989. However, Majkowski's performance had declined due to injuries and inconsistent play, and Wolf believed Favre could be the cornerstone of a new era. The trade would prove to be one of the most consequential in NFL history, but in the spring of 1992, it was met with skepticism from fans and media. The 1992 roster, a mix of youth and experience. The 1992 Packers were a blend of emerging stars, savvy veterans, and role players. Wolf and Holmgren worked to reshape the roster, emphasizing speed, athleticism, and players who fit the West Coast offense. Key figures included Brett Favre QB. The 22-year-old quarterback was raw, but brimming with talent, the cannon arm, and a fearless mentality. Don Majkowski QB, the incumbent starter, nicknamed the Magic Man, began the season as the No. 1 quarterback but was sidelined by injury. Sterling Sharp, WR, the team's best player. Sharp was a dynamic receiver who had led the NFL in receptions 108. In 1992, his speed and hands made him the perfect target for Holmgren's offense. Reggie White, signed in 1993, White was not yet on the roster, but the 1992 season laid the groundwork for his arrival. The defensive line relied on players like Tony Bennett and Robert Brown. Chuck Cecil S., a hard-hitting safety acquired via trade. Cecil brought intensity to the secondary. Terrell Buckley, CB, a first-round pick in 1992. Buckley was a talented but inconsistent rookie cornerback. Edgar Bennett, RB, a fourth-round pick. Bennett emerged as a versatile running back who could catch passes out of the backfield. Leroy Butler, S., a rising star. Butler was developing into one of the NFL's best safeties. With his versatility foreshadowing the modern hybrid defensive back, the roster was not without flaws. The offensive line was average, the running game lacked a dominant back, and the defense, while improving, was not yet elite. Still, Holmgren's system and Wolf's talent valuation gave the team a foundation for success. The 1992 season, A. Turnaround in Green Bay. The Packers entered the 1992 season with modest expectations. The NFC was stacked with powerhouses like the Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers, and Washington Redskins, and Green Bay was projected to finish near the bottom of the NFC Central. This season consisted of 16 games, with the Packers facing a challenging schedule that included divisional rivals like the Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings, Detroit Lions, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Early struggles and the Favre era began with Don Majkowski as the starting quarterback, but the offense sputtered. In Week 1, the Packers lost to the Vikings 23-20 in overtime at Lambeau Field, with Majkowski throwing 2 interceptions. Week 2 loss to the Buccaneers 31-3 exposed the team's offensive woes. As Tampa Bay's defense dominated, the Packers rebounded in Week 3, defeating the Cincinnati Bengals 24-23 in a thrilling comeback. With Majkowski engineering a late drive, the turning point came in Week 4 against the Pittsburgh Steelers on September 27, 1992. Majkowski suffered a sprained ankle in the first quarter, forcing Favre into the game. In his first significant NFL action, Favre struggled early, completing just 14 of 19 passes for 210 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. However, he showed resilience, leading a dramatic game-winning drive. With 1:07 remaining and the Packers trailing 16-13, Favre completed a 25-yard pass to Sterling Sharp and a 14-yard strike to Kitrick Taylor, setting up a 47-yard field goal by Chris Jack to secure a 17-16 victory. The Favre era had begun. Mid-season moment Favre's ascension sparked the team. In Week 5, the Packers upset the Atlanta Falcons 24-10. With Favre throwing for 276 yards and 2 touchdowns, a Week 6 loss to the Cleveland Browns 17-6 was a setback. But Green Bay bounced back with a 16-13 win over the Chicago Bears in Week 7, their first victory at Soldier Field since 1986. The defense, led by Butler and Cecil, forced 3 turnovers, and Jack's kicking proved clutch. The Packers' signature game came in Week 8 against the Minnesota Vikings. November 1st, 1992, trailing 20-17 late in the fourth quarter, Favre led a 92-yard drive, culminating in a 35-yard touchdown pass to Sterling Sharp with 1:09 remaining. The 27-20 victory at the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome was a statement win, proving Green Bay could compete with division rivals. Late season pushed the Packers' momentum carried into November and December. They won 4 of their next 5 games, including a 38-10 rout of the Detroit Lions in Week 10, where Favre threw for 214 yards and 3 touchdowns. A 19-14 win over the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 12 showcased the defense, which held Reggie White and company in check. By Week 14, Green Bay was 7-5, their best record in years, and playoff hopes were alive. However, the season's final stretch was challenging. Losses to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 14-13 and Los Angeles Rams 28-13 exposed offensive inconsistencies. And a Week 16 defeat to the San Francisco 49ers 24-6 highlighted the gap between Green Bay and the NFC's elite. The Packers closed the season with a 20-17 win over the Minnesota Vikings in Week 17, with Favre throwing for 270 yards and Sharp catching 9 passes for 160 yards. Final record and statistical highlights: the Packers finished the 1992 season with a 9-7 record. Their first winning season since 1989 and only their third since 1972. They placed second in the NFC Central. Missing the playoffs by one game, the NFC had 6 playoff spots, and Green Bay was edged out by the 9-7 Philadelphia Eagles for the final wild-card berth. The season was a massive step forward as the team doubled its win total from 1991. Key statistics: Brett Favre, 302 completions on 471 attempts, 3,227 yards, 18 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. 85.3 passer rating, started 13 games. Sterling Sharp, 108 receptions, 1,461 yards, 13 touchdowns, led NFL in receptions and touchdowns. Edgar Bennett, 214 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 13 receptions, 93 yards. Leroy Butler, 70 tackles, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble. Chris Jack, 29 39ths field goals, 30 30ths extra points. 117 points, team offense, 5,038 total yards. 276 points scored, 17.3 points per game, closing parenthesis. Team defense allowed 296 points, 18.5 points per game, forced 24 turnovers. Sharp's performance earned him first-team All-Pro honors, and he and Favre were selected to the Pro Bowl. The first Packers to earn the honor since 1989, the impact of 1992. The 1992 season was a watershed moment for the Green Bay Packers. While they fell short of the playoffs, the season restored hope in Green Bay and laid the foundation for future success. Several factors contributed to its significance. Brett Favre's emergence. Favre's breakout season established him as the franchise quarterback. His arm strength, improvisational skills, and competitive fire galvanized the team and endeared him to fans. His 3,227 passing yards ranked 10th in the NFL, a remarkable feat for a first-year starter. Holmgren system, the West Coast offense, with its emphasis on short passes and timing, maximized the talents of Favre and Sharp. The system's success in 1992 set the stage for Green Bay's offensive dominance in the mid-1990s cultural shift. Wolf and Holmgren instilled a new sense of professionalism and accountability. The organization, once plagued by dysfunction, began to operate with a clear vision. Fan rejuvenation. In Green Bay, where the Packers are a civic religion, the 9-7 season rekindled fan enthusiasm. Lambeau Field, which had seen sparse crowds in the 1980s, is once again a fortress, with sellout streaks beginning in 1992, foundation for 1993, and beyond. The 1992 season set the stage for the acquisition of Reggie White in 1993, a move that elevated the defense to elite status. The Packers would make the playoffs in 1993 and every year through 1998, culminating in a Super Bowl 31 victory in 1997. Challenges and lessons. Despite the progress, the 1992 Packers faced challenges. The offense was overly reliant on Sharp, and the running game was pedestrian. The team ranked 22nd in rushing yards. The defense, while opportunistic, lacked a dominant pass rusher, a need Wolf addressed with White's signing. Favre's 13 interceptions reflected his gunslinger mentality, which sometimes led to costly mistakes. Holmgren worked to refine Favre's decision-making, a process that continued in subsequent seasons. The season also highlighted the competitive landscape of the NFC. The Cowboys, who went 13-3 and won Super Bowl 27, and the 49ers, led by Steve Young, were the class of the conference. For Green Bay to contend, they needed to close the talent gap, which Wolf and Holmgren addressed through free agency and the draft. Legacy of the 1992 Packers. The 1992 Green Bay Packers are remembered as the team that started it all. After years of irrelevance, they restored pride to Titletown and set the stage for one of the NFL's great dynasties. Brett Favre became a legend, Mike Holmgren, a coaching icon, and Ron Wolf, a Hall of Fame executive inducted in 2015. Sharp's brilliance. though cut short by a career-ending neck injury in 1994, remains a highlight of the era for fans. 1992 was the year Green Bay reclaimed its identity as a football powerhouse. The season's signature moments: Favre's game-winning drive against Pittsburgh, Sharp's heroics in Minnesota, and the team's gritty wins over division rivals are etched in Packers lore. The 9-7 record, modest by today's standards, was a triumph in 1992, a sign that the Packers were back.